He's got to be kidding.
Hello, welcome to hell. You wouldn't take the advice, and now you're stuck as well. And hello, gamers now.
Attention, the script to my latest and greatest game has been stolen. Round up any suspicious characters.
I sing this song, but we're in hell, so knock on wood.
Must we use the scrolling text here, too?
I can't believe we are doing this.
What do you want?
To get out of here as quickly as possible. Would you do me a small favor, Cloak?
What kind of favor?
I would like to leave these papers with you for safe keeping. Nothing too important, just a script.
I heard that a script was stolen from a certain professor today.
Really? Poor devil.
May I ask what this would be the script for?
Life is Strange too.
That's quite the surprise.
I just need you to hang on to it till I can give it to my contact.
Alright, I'll hold on to it. Of course I would hang on to the script. Why would I not hang on to such a script? The original Life is Strange was pretty great. I mean, it seemed to have it all. An interesting story, good characters, for the most part.
Stop that! Stop! No barking.
And a rewind mechanic that really made the game relatively unique. Essentially, Life is Strange was like a choose-your-own-adventure novel, in which your choices would determine the outcome of the gameplay.
May I be excused?
Nice try, Max. But you're not gonna get away that easy. We can talk more after class.
However, because the rewind mechanism, you can always rewind certain parts to pick the outcome you might prefer. Now, you never saw the actual outcome until later on in the game, but you at least would get an idea or a chance to think about, well, maybe this isn't the best choice. It's basically a bad life choice simulator, as I like to call it. Now, some of the choices are relatively linear and forced upon you, but there is still a good number of choices that are definitely open for your own decisions.
Somebody has been reading as well as posing.
For example,
I can tell everybody
at the beginning of the game,
Prescott is a punk ass who
the
begs
player
like a
ends
little
up
girl and
witnessing
talks to himself.
a confrontation in the restroom, where this girl almost gets shot by
What are you
one of
doing?
her fellow classmates.
Come on, put that thing down!
Ever tell me what to do!
Now, though you are forced to ultimately do the puzzle and rewind the game until you can save this person from being shot,
Don't ever touch me again, freak!
you are given the choice later as do you inform the principal about the student in the bathroom with the gun, or do you say nothing?
Max Caulfield, right?
Now, a bit of a spoiler, though.
Nobody
Ultimately, this
tells me
psychopath
what to
with
do.
the gun
Not my parents,
will come after
not the
you
principal,
anyway,
or that whore
but
in the bathroom.
if you say nothing, he will not text you death threats like he would if you would have ratted him out. But all the illusion of choices aside, it's actually still pretty good. The story is engaging enough to keep you entertained, even if some of the choices are relatively meaningless. And what a story it is, too. The twisted tale of how interactions between your player character goes with other characters, as well as trying to figure out what's really going on in the background, because apparently there's a serial killer running loose in Arcadia Bay, and he's got himself a nice death list, which may include a friend of one of your friends later.
Whoa! That was so surreal.
Famously called film, little
And this is where the
pieces
time
of
travel
time.
mechanism becomes very useful.
could be talking
Because
about
you can
photography
rewind
as
events
like
and
he
see
liked
how
it
they
was.
play out
Okay.
differently.
I'm in class.
You can determine what's going on a little quicker.
Okay.
You don't have just one shot to gain information. You can learn things about characters and still not have to suffer the consequences about learning those things.
I didn't fall asleep.
So you have a chance to accumulate knowledge without actually having to pay the price for getting said knowledge. Very useful when you're tracking down murderers. Sprinkle in a little bit of puzzles here and there that involve keeping your friend alive and avoiding death.
I shot myself! Back up!
And you have basically what I would call a flawed masterpiece. It's not perfect, but it's really good nonetheless. It's very engaging, and I recommend you give it a shot. I've often called it the Casablanca of video games.
Hello, Sam.
My name isn't Sam. Miss Price.
Is Cloak here?
No, you left a while ago.
Does he always leave so early?
I couldn't say for sure. He's addicted to Skyrim.
Play it, Sam.
Told you, my name isn't Sam.
Play the opening theme.
Good thing I'm not Sam, or I might feel bad about this.
I thought I told you never. Chloe.
Boss, nothing good can come of this.
She's coming back. I know it.
Let's get out of here. We'll find other games.
Go home.
No, sir. If you stay, I stay.
Play it again, Sam.
What are you people not understanding? My name isn't Sam.
If she can take it, I can. Play it. Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. Just as I called the original Life is Strange the video game equivalent of Casablanca, Life is Strange Before the Storm is what would happen if somebody decided to make a prequel to Casablanca. It's a story that really doesn't need to be told. And this kind of fits the exact problem with this game. It has a good story, don't get me wrong, but it's not the original. Now, I have already done a full blind Let's Play of this game on this channel, so think of this as my final thoughts on Before the Storm. In this game, the player gets the privilege of playing as Chloe Price, Max's friend from the first game,
You have to help me aim.
that Max had to keep from getting killed off.
That was so surreal.
Famously called
At first, this seems like an odd choice, but a very wise one. Chloe is a strong lead.
Show was too epic.
Now, what I really miss from the original game is the ability to rewind time. For some reason, the developers decided to get rid of the one mechanism that made Life is Strange unique, and replace it with a dialogue backtalk option. Oh boy.
Do you live in your boss's basement?
Much like the original Life is Strange, Before the Storm is divided into episodes. In episode 1, we are introduced to the Rebel of Rebels, or reintroduced to her, Chloe Price. Again, not a bad choice for a lead. Pity that any gravity of this story is hiding somewhere. My reaction to Chapter 1 was that of sheer disbelief. Yes, some of Chloe's antics were appreciated, but I was too busy just hoping that they would introduce the rewind ability. I really wanted that to happen, but it never came to be. In fact, over the course of my blind Let's Play, I remember quite clearly complaining about not being able to do this. Quite often. The missing mechanism aside, in the first episode, Chloe seems to have no ability for subtlety. So in dialogue situations where you want to get out of the conversation without pissing someone off, well, Tough shit, because regardless what you do, Chloe is going to go on the offensive.
Sometimes, when we're
Sorry.
incredibly desperate and lonely, we choose the absolute wrong kind of people to let into our hearts. Mom.
Examples of this appear anytime she interacts with her to-be stepfather, David Madsen.
Without us. No, Mom. I swear he beat himself to death with a tire iron. Repeatedly.
Additionally, near the end of the chapter, Rachel Amber gets upset and wishes to be left alone, and you cannot, for the life of anything, stop Chloe from making a bit of a pest of herself. You are stuck having to play it awkward when you would really like to actually do nothing.
Chloe, I'd really like some space right now.
All in all, to me at least, I left the first chapter feeling nothing but buyer's remorse.
I'm not finished. Not yet.
Cloak, I've come for the script pedestal.
I'm not surprised. Of course you would want it after Before the Storm.
You don't understand.
Don't I? I just played your crummy prequel. If I give it to you, what would the result be? Another half-assed backtalk simulator.
There must be something in the game you like. Something that drew you back to continue playing after Chapter 1.
She has a point. There was indeed something that drew me back to continue playing. Actually, a few things.
What bright side?
First was I was curious about Chloe's dream sequences that kept showing up, and I had to know what they were about. The second was I was still yearning for the time travel mechanic. And finally, I couldn't just let the Let's Play series die after the first chapter, so I continued on. The dream sequences were probably the largest draw. In Chapter 1, Chloe has two very surreal dreams about her father dying. And the third dream in Chapter 2 is certainly surreal and a little horrifying, actually. It shows how messed up Chloe's psyche truly is.
Of getting burned.
As expected, Chapter 2 starts with Chloe and Amber in a little bit of trouble with the school. After all, they did just ditch the day before. The choice here is pretty simple, though. You can get Rachel and Chloe suspended, or get Chloe expelled. And of course, I chose to go down in flames in the Let's Play, because why not?
No way is Rachel missing the play for me.
Aside from being kicked out of school, Chloe then hears news from Joyce, her mother, that's a little more upsetting. You see, David is moving in with them. This is where we have another illusion of free will moment, if you will. In that David offers a fresh start, and regardless of which option you pick, Chloe is having none of it.
You too. I'd like for us to start over. What do you say?
Sure. Reset button press.
Although, even if you agree to go along with it, David frisks you for drugs.
Belongings on the trunk of the car.
What the fuck?
If we are going to start over, we have to know that you are not abusing drugs.
Wow. Good thing Chloe's friend looted the drugs from Chloe's locker before she got there, or we might have a problem.
Wait. What the hell? Damn it, Justin.
From there, Chloe goes to the junkyard, and we are introduced to the truck that will later become Chloe's truck, after we get to spend a puzzle of putting it together, piece by piece. Things like a seat cover, a light, and something to block the big hole in the floor. We'll see the truck come together later. This is actually a pretty fun puzzle, though, because you can find little pieces that go together with the truck that give you, I guess, a sense of customization of how the truck turns out. Well, at least it would be more like that if you don't rush through the junkyard and you actually pay attention to what's laying around, unlike I did. Oops. After the previously mentioned dream sequence, the game becomes a quest for your drug dealer. Frank wants you to
True north?
sneak back into Blackwell and steal some money from the school football star who's apparently dealing drugs on the side.
Drew runs Oxy for Damon.
And this is where we get our first hint of the villain of this game. The drug dealer known as Damon Merrick. Or Merrick, or Maverick, or we're just going to call him Merrick for the sake of this. Now, this is where one of my biggest complaints about the game not having gravity of the situation is. You see, I don't find Damon Merrick, our villain, to be very threatening. He comes off to me as some pompous, always angry little shit that has to hide behind his knife. Hey, Damon, what's your plan if somebody decides to bring a gun to that knife fight?
Back here.
I mean, this guy's embarrassing.
To break his knees.
Anyway, outside of the Tempest play, which is amazing, Chapter 2 felt very awkward. It started uncomfortable, and it ended on a cliffhanger of a kind that belongs to an R. Kelly song known as Trapped in the Closet, which I'm not knocking, it's a pretty good ballad, but it's far from what I would have expected from the end of the second chapter.
Rachel in any of the same classes?
It didn't hit nearly as hard as it could have. The problem with the ending of this chapter surrounded more about Rachel than less about what I did. See, my choices seemed ultimately substandard because it was all about Rachel Amber. There's really no payoff point here yet. So, we currently have 2 chapters. Neither ending has been very hard-hitting.
Rachel.
And that's the thing.
The way
many of the chapter endings in the original left me looking at the screen in stunned horror. And thus far, Before the Storm hasn't.
How do you know which way is up when your whole life has been turned upside down?
I heard a rumor that you have the missing script.
I wouldn't have thought you're the type to put stock in rumors.
Let me be more direct, then. I know you have the script. Hand it over, or I'll close down your cafe.
On what grounds?
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in there. It's a pity your friend Retta didn't think to work with me. I'm making out her death certificate now. Suicide or shot trying to escape. So hard to choose.
Now hold on. I happen to be able to offer you more than just a game script.
Go on.
How about a game script and an annoying game character? She's just waiting for me to give her the script. And when I do, you can have both her soul and the script.
I am listening.
Hey, Chloe.
Oh, Cloak. After last night, I'm surprised you're still walking. You were hella drunk.
Right. Listen, I thought about what you said at the end, and I've decided to give you the script.
Sweet, where is it?
I don't have it on me, but I'll give it to you tonight at the airport.
So like we're doing it all spy-like. Okay, cool. By the way, was there any portion of Before the Storm you did like?
Well... Yes, actually, I must confess that the 3rd chapter of the game is pretty great. It picks up with Rachel learning the truth of her mother in a scene that blends storytelling with the bizarre nature of the dream sequences. If only this game had more scenes like this.
The truth can be hard to look at.
After all the awkward feelings left from the previous chapter, I was surprised the 3rd chapter actually managed to interest me. For the first time since I started playing this game, I actually gave a crap about what was going on. And it felt pretty bad for Rachel. It still surprises me. Also, for once, Chloe seems to have a grasp on subtlety. And actually not getting into a fight with David, but instead has a chance to let bygones be bygones. Excellent.
David. Oh, Chloe.
However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, because our villain is a pretty big subject in this chapter. For example, we learn that Rachel's father has been having shady secret communications with Damon Merrick.
Talking about?
This comes off as a big shock, but I'm not surprised because, of course, the DA of Arcadia Bay would be dirty. We've seen the Prescotts running around the place. That, and, I still can't see Damon as any more than a minor pest. True, he stabs Rachel in this chapter, but even that comes off as petty. Oh my gosh. The big bad drug thug has to prove he's tough by stabbing a teenager. Wow, what a VIP! Seriously, why is this dirtbag not behind bars? I mean, by this time in the last game, we were chasing down a serial killer. Quite a step down from serial killer to this guy. Mirac aside, the chapter plays out pretty well. From trying to save Rachel, to Chloe's final few dream sequences, to even the confrontation with Damon Mirac himself, despite the fact that you get your ass beat regardless of what choice you make.
I've got the money right here. Your money. Want it?
How the fuck?
I've got your money right here. The money James owes you.
How the fuck do you...
Run! No one has to know. Just let her go, and I won't say...
And it includes a few tough decisions, especially at the end. It wasn't as tough as the choices from the original Life is Strange, but difficult nonetheless.
Can't Rachel know?
This chapter is simply a roller coaster. Easily the best chapter in the game, with less awkward situations and plenty of heartfelt moments. So yeah, the third chapter of the game is actually good. It wraps up the game pretty well. I was quite surprised.
Well, well.
What's he doing here?
Just killing two birds with one stone. Turns out that Cloak hated your last game so much that he's willing to trade the script for the end of the franchise.
What?
Hold on, Lord Cifer. The script goes where I send it. Until then, we have no bargain.
So you're choosing to drag this out to the end. Typical.
Cloak, the obvious choice is to give the script to me.
Yes, give it to her, Cloak, and let the franchise suffer another travesty. Or, give it to me, and it will all end.
Don't give it to him. Besides, didn't you just say the last chapter was good?
Last chapter? Oh, did you not mention the DLC?
Oh, the DLC. This extra chapter is really short. And it's a prequel to the prequel. We're starting to get meta here. It's clear that this chapter was made to encourage the sale of the game. How? Simple. You get to play as Max in this chapter, the heroine from the original game. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, cool. We'll finally get to rewind time, right? Wrong. This is the story of Max's last days with Chloe before Max left for Seattle.
Ready? I guess.
In this chapter, we meet a younger and happier Chloe. Pity that the events of this chapter is going to ruin that. Without spoiling too much, basically you go on a treasure hunt for sort of buried memories. And then, after Max says that she's leaving, disaster strikes and changes Chloe's life forever. I found this chapter, though padded out with forced detail research, it's alright. I wouldn't say it's required DLC unless you want the full picture of the game's backstory. In fact, probably if played in a certain order, the DLC would come off as a shock, but by the time I got there, there was no surprise. I knew everything. In fact, the only surprise I could muster in a final episode was the object that Max left for Chloe. The last item Max left for Chloe at the end. That was shocking considering what happened before the DLC episode. Yeah, ouch. But how does Life is Strange Before the Storm fare overall? Well, honestly, I haven't had such mixed feelings on a game in a long time. Before the Storm is just average. If it wasn't for the original Life is Strange, I probably wouldn't have such a high expectation for it. With that, I suppose the only solution would be to...
I'm finally glad that that's over. Funny how we thought that shredding the script would make for a good ending, but whatever. Assuming you've made it this far, thank you for watching. And even thank you for watching if you didn't. Do like, share, and comment if you enjoyed this rather strange video. And as last time, I wouldn't want my prisoner a chance at actually escaping, so please, don't even think about hitting the subscribe button. Alright, well, who am I to tell you not to think about it? But you'd be doing me a service if you didn't. Although if you do, I suppose that's good too, but please make sure you're subscribing for me, not for my prisoner. Cordially yours, Cifer.